Right, here we go. Now, earlier on in part one, I had dissolved the sugar and the berry fruit tea bag type things into this bucket. This is my, by the way, gone off on a tangent. This is my little wine room, I suppose I call it. But we'll just show you the next thing. I mentioned earlier I put a kilo of sugar in. Now the recipe actually advocates using 1.25 kilos, and basically coming in some later parts I'll tell you the wine, various stages of fermentation, some of this stuff I'll try and find one. Everything's nice and clear inside of demijohns. Some are quite dirty on the outside. That's outside, that really is old stickers and things, so I've bought them from boot sales and off the internet, but they must be sterilised inside. And when I talk about sterilisation, I haven't got on with me, but it's basically a simple matter really of hot water, well, warm water and a powder. I think off the top of my head it's WMP or something, available at your wine shops again. But yeah, that's an Earl Grey. That's an Earl Grey tea for what I'm doing there. In the bottom there's quite a stiff sediment there, but it's not clear yet. But when it's clear, what you do is you rack it, which means you siphon it from let's say that demijohn to your clean one, leaving the sediment behind. But it's important to when your wine's finished its sort of vigorous ferment to start with, to keep the level up towards the top of these necks, to stop any airborne infections. Just a less gap there for problems basically, and less chance of any trouble. So often you'd make a gallon of wine and make too much liquor. I've got some of these bottles here. They will contain, the ones with the little cotton wool plugs on the top, they'll be the spare juice. So when I rack it, the spare stuff can then be transferred into the second demijohn of the clearer mix, so the clearer juice, to enable you to top it up to the top. But what I'm doing, part of the idea of when you add the sugar, now if it ferments quickly, which it will, too quickly, the alcohol hasn't had a chance to build up the tolerance of the yeast hasn't got a chance to get used to the alcohol, and the alcohol will kill it. So by putting less sugar in, then I rack it, and I get the opportunity, there's space in the top of the demijohn, because I've not done more than a gallon on this occasion, to put some more sugar in. Like you mix it with hot water and they call it syrup, and top it up that way, because there's plenty of flavour. There's plenty of tea bags in there, so like I say, part of the main ingredient here is just sticking water in, so I may as well stick it as is into this demijohn. And I say, first time I rack it I'll add a little bit more sugar, second time I rack it a little bit more, trying to get this camera balanced. I'm just going to, it's simple now. I took the tea bags out earlier and squeezed them. This is cooled down now sufficiently. I've actually not even bothered to measure it, because to get the thermometer on, because I know damn well the temperature of the room, and it's cool enough anyway basically, but you don't want it too hot. So I'm just going to try and just show you. Oh, look, got simple funnel. That's a bit of net curtain, clean net curtain. It's not like picking wild fruits, elderberries, blackberries, where you're going to get loads of particles and bits. There shouldn't be a lot in here, but it's just a precaution. So I just straight from the bucket into the demijohn. I'm thinking, as you remember earlier I said I poured the 2 kettles out, there's about 7 pints. So the demijohn's 8 pints. So it shouldn't quite fill it up. It should enable me to put a couple of other little bits and pieces in. But not many more bits. As I say, page 151 on the First Steps in Winemaking book, following their tea recipe, they say there are some wonderful scented teas from China and from India. Until I drink it I don't know which is good and which is bad, but there we go. I've nearly filled the demijohn. That's enough actually, more than I'd have liked really. Then we've got the yeast. Try and get the camera. This is the yeast I warmed up earlier, and I probably didn't explain it very well because, as I said, I'm not the best cameraman. I could have just chucked that yeast in dry now, and there's a chance, it's just a slim chance, that it just wouldn't quite get fermenting. It's a wonderful bit of science how the yeast works. This is what it does when you get these airlocks on the end. Is that one working? Let's try and watch that bubbling away. Yep, there it goes. That's an orange wine. Every time that bubbles, what it's done, that yeast, eating sugar that it does, because it's a living thing, likes to eat the sugar. Carbon dioxide comes up, that's a waste product, and the other waste product is alcohol, which I'm a big fan of. So this yeast now, so the good start in life is a bit of sugar to get on with, and it's multiplied in size. I'll chuck that in the funnel. Now what I don't want to do at the minute, actually look, it's a little bit a solid particle, so I'll get them in there. I'll swish it about with some more water in a minute, because I've got to put some citric acid in as well. But if I suddenly put the airlock on now, yeast breathes in two ways: anaerobic respiration, aerobic respiration. But basically what it means is, to start with, it needs to be expanding, keep multiplying to get plenty of yeast in there, and it can do that with the air getting to it. This is the batch. Let's move this bucket. This is a batch of berry fruit wine, I suppose I'd call it, tea wine, that I'd done earlier. Can you see the bubbles going up quite savage there? And if I fill that up near to the top there, it's going to get up in the airlock and pollute the thing, and just it troubles, and it can spew over and get everywhere. So you put a cotton wool plug in to start with. It's the best way to do it. Nice tight bit of cotton wool. The air can get out. It keeps the fruit flies out, because it's not so bad now, it's not the summer, but when that gets warm, believe me, they'll be everywhere. And you mustn't get them in your wine, because they can carry a bacteria which can do a lot of damage. So that, I mean, that's not quite ready. Yeah, I said earlier, don't fill it to the top, because the airborne infections, that's not an issue while it's going. Look, it's like a volcano erupting. So that can stay like that, and I'll wait probably about a week, and I'm going to try and put it in my airing cupboard. This in here is about 16 degrees temperature at the moment, which is pretty good. I go in centigrades, I think. I don't even know if that's a modern one or the old one, but it's pretty nice. But to keep it a little bit warmer, the airing cupboard is probably about 20 at the moment, and that's perfect really, just to get it fermenting. So what I need to do now, I don't think I need to show you, I'm sure you can imagine it. But another thing, again, available at Hops and Vines in Witney, or I don't know how widely available these wine shops are, but your modern equivalent. I'm going to, because I haven't got all the yeast out of that one, I'm just going to swish out with a little bit of water, again, the smallest amount, just so I don't waste any, and to get all that off the side of the funnel. Then I'll use the same cup. Doesn't really, go on about cleanliness, but it's going into the same jar anyway. I'm going to stick 2 spoons of these citric acid as directed in the tea making recipe. Stick it in there, a little bit of lukewarm water, swish that all in, peel the cotton wool off, put the plug in, and then just hope that it gets underway, which it will. If you sterilise everything, you're not going to get a problem really. And then, I mean, you can also mess about with these things. Well, I say you don't need to get all the kit in the world, you don't need to buy loads of things to start with, but if you get enthusiastic about it, you'll want to buy them as you go along the way. And there's a lot of expense and outlay if you really get into it, until you've had some successful brews. And then you'll find it soon pays for itself if you're a regular drinker of wine. But that's a hydrometer. It's a tool. I could try checking now the alcohol, basically the consistency of stickiness of the water with the liquid now. And when it gets to the end of the ferment, it's like a float, and with readings on the side. Basically, they're calculations to tell what strength it is. But as I'm adding sugar at stages, it all becomes a bit mathematical, and I think it's irrelevant, because the important thing to me, does it taste nice? You know, is it wine? You can tell when you drink it if it's got a bit of strength or not. So basically, I don't need to tell you much more about that. This is part 2, and the next time I'm going to be making part 3 really will probably be at the first racking, which will be when I've got a nice solid sediment at the bottom. I can see through it quite clearly, and unfortunately, actually, you know, I think I'm running out of video, so we'll just call that's a wrap then. Part 2 done, and I'll get back to you when it's time to show you how crystal clear it is and move on to the next stage. Sorry to finish early, but really the video is running out. Thanks very much.